Welcome back, everybody. Today's topic, we're talking about the cost of healthy food. One of the first arguments that we get when we try to encourage people to eat this way is that the cost is rather high. That it is. However, food is fuel, food is medicine, and it's not a luxury. So if it means that you've got to cut out a couple other places in your lifestyle so you can afford some healthy food, we completely recommend it. Also, if you're raising kids, it's even more important. Those guys deserve the best chance and they deserve the best fuel. That being said, today we're going to give you some pointers on how you can keep those grocery bills down. So, cow pooling, what is it?
So, best way to think of that is think of carpooling. A bunch of people all pitch in to buy a cow, and then they basically split the cost and then divide all the meat up. So whether it's 4 people or 6 people, they all pitch in and get an equal share of cow meat, beef.
So why don't I just go buy a whole cow myself?
Well, you could, but depending on how much you eat, a whole cow can produce anywhere from 300 to 500 pounds of beef. And while you may actually eat that in a year, it's space. Do you have the deep freezer to do it? So you could, if you have the freezer to do it, I'd definitely recommend doing that.
Okay, so if I know that I'm not going to eat that much meat and I've got to get my friends or whatever, but I just can't seem to get the van full, for lack of a better analogy, of people to go in on this cow, what are my options?
Well, luckily, I mean, so the way I explained cow pulling, that was kind of in the past, 5 to 10 years ago. Now, because of the popularity of grass-fed beef, and in fact, pasture-raised beef, which is the next level, which is actually what this is, there's so many companies out there looking to sell you a grass-fed, pasture-raised cow, whether it be a quarter, whether it be a half, or a whole cow. I think you can even go as low as an 1/8. So now, no need to worry. If you don't have any friends that don't want to do this, you can get as low as an 1/8, all the way up to a whole cow, all by yourself. And turnaround has even improved.
Okay, so you find a farmer, right? Sign up for their program or contact them, get on that, then buy the cow. Then how do you get the cow to your plate?
Yeah, well, so the people I've done this through, they usually, and this is what you want to look for, I guess, is they will have a butcher that they will take it to for you, a local butcher that they work with. So so you actually have to split your payment up between 2 people. You pay the farmer for his cow, and then he takes the cow to the butcher, and then the butcher will give you a call. You will give them specifications on how you want your meat, and then you will pay the butcher the butchering costs. So, and then you go pick that up from the butcher.
So through this process with the butcher, is the USDA involved? Do they inspect your meat?
Usually, no. I mean, I'm sure there are some companies out there that are USDA certified, but the majority of them are not.
Is that a good thing?
I believe so, or at least I don't think it's a bad thing.
So what risk am I going to get sick if the government's not looking at my meat? That sounds horrible.
Yeah, well, it depends, you know, how well you think your government has your best interest in mind. You know, there's been spreads of Ebola almost every year, 2-3 times a year.
E. coli.
Or yeah, Ebola, E. coli, same thing. So E. coli, I guess Ebola's on the spread now too, but E. coli, every few years or every year there's E. coli.
We always hear about all the ground beef getting recalled. And that's probably because those big slaughterhouses, they're allowed to have a certain percentage of mistakes.
Well, right? Yeah, and basically what I was going to say is those are usually USDA certified facilities that are releasing the spread of E. coli. So, yeah, just like you said, they have the parts per million, so to speak.
Sure. So one of the advantages of working with a local butcher, even if it's only somebody that you visit once a year, is at the end of the day, you're really kind of looking the person that's butchering your cow in the eye when you go pick up the meat. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit more of that old school personal accountability, let me shake your hand and I want to trust you and do business with you mentality than some guy in a medical garb to keep their hair out of the cow, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that these small butchers are dirty by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, in fact, why don't you tell the story about our second cow and our experience working on the butcher side of it?
Yeah, so our second cow that we purchased, my brother-in-law actually has a ranch in New Mexico, and I asked him if we could buy a cow, and in fact, I wanted to be completely engaged in the project. In fact, we both did. We wanted to just literally farm to table and be involved in that whole process, because that's a process most people do not see. And so basically we did just that. We picked the cow right off the ranch, we drove him over to the butcher, and then we participated in you know, butchering the cow.
So what did that include?
Well, I mean, everything from, you know, shooting it to cutting it open, letting it drain out, to removing the skin, to letting it hang. Mm-hmm. I think we let it hang for about 2 weeks. Then we had to go back, and then we actually had to cut it into steaks and roast and ground beef. And
so I want to talk about some of the mechanics of the cow pulling. Garett alluded to them a little bit. One is you buy the cow from the farmer, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times this is referred to as on the hoof. So you're paying for the whole cow, not just the edible parts. So you're getting the skin, you're getting the brains, you're getting the organs, you're getting the intestines. Some people will argue that they'll eat that, and there's definitely use for those, and there's folks that'll take that. But
well, hold on, you don't always get that. I mean, you have the option,
but you're paying for that. You're paying
yeah.
for the on the hoof price.
Mm-hmm.
So when the animal is alive and they put it on a scale, that's what you pay, and that's what you should pay from the farmer. From there, you'll take it to the butcher, and then at that point, it's you pay per pound wrapped, or you pay per total pound. I forget.
Per pound wrapped.
So at that point, you should, if you had an 800-pound cow, you should expect to pay, I don't know, maybe a 30 to 70 cent butchering fee per pound. Is that
it's about 50 cents, or at least 50, 55 cents.
So when you're looking
pound.
for a butcher, those are some of the questions that you want to ask, if there's a flat fee or per pound or wrapped or whatnot. And when you get your meat, it's a little scary the first time. It's going to be stamped not for resale, and that is because it hasn't gone through the USDA process. They are legally required to do that. It's also why you can get away with not going through the USDA, is because you, the consumer, are buying the cow from the farmer and then going to the butcher and having them perform services and then paying the butcher. So those two steps have to be separate because of the way that law is. If you are interested in finding a cow pool in your area, a simple Google search will do it. A quality farmer will always invite you to see their facilities. A lot of times we've found in these situations, especially, you know, we can get into the whole political side of it and the labeling side and certifications and all that kind of stuff, but organic, pasture raised, all natural, those labels, you should always read them and be a little wary, right? If you're truly concerned about the quality of your food and where it's coming from, we always, always, always encourage you to go visit the farm. And a farmer who is upright and proud of his product and proud of his cows will most likely invite you. In fact, that's what happened with our first cow.
Yeah.
Is he was a little outside of town when we were living in the Southwest, and it was a little bit of a drive, and the farmer begged us repeatedly to come see his farm because he was so proud of what he was doing with his cows. And that's also important too, because you know that your cows led a happy cow life, which may sound cliche, but that's really where the quality of your meat comes from, is when an animal is able to live in the fashion that they are intended by nature to live. So a couple things to look for is, one, that you have a farmer that you trust, whether that is through formal certification, whether that's through word of mouth, somebody else that you trust, or that you go put eyes on yourself. Next is to look for that butcher that has that same good reputation, has a good track record that you trust and is upright. And then find that freezer space store it and go. One more disclaimer about pasture-raised meat. If you have never had it before, can you maybe talk about kind of what the taste is going to be, if it's going to be any different?
Well, I mean, it's been so long, I can't really taste the difference. Some people say a pasture-raised cow tastes a little bit more gamey, more like what you'd expect from a deer meat or elk meat or something like that. Probably more along the lines of elk meat. It's got more of just that gamier taste, although I feel like I don't taste that anymore, and if I do, I actually prefer it. I mean, it tastes like it's actually got some spirit still left in it. It lived a good life. It was a living, strong, healthy animal.
So one of the other thing about this is, even though we're making this shift to fat as well, it's actually harder to marbleize cows on a grass-fed diet if they're not grain finished. So that's another part that you want to look for, is that they're not grain finished. So don't be surprised if your meat's actually a little bit leaner. A lot of times, good butchers will take fat from another part of the animal and put it in your ground beef to increase the fat content, because it is pretty lean on a grass-fed animal, because they're living like they're intended to live. I mean, that grain will fatten the cow up just like it will fatten you up. So with that, if you have any questions, or if you would like us to kind of do a drive-by at least of the website of your possible cow pool, we would be more than happy to look at the farmer's credentials and give our 2 cents. I'm not saying one is good or bad. At the end of the day, it's all up to you to do your research. So please keep those questions coming, and thank you.
Here's a shocker, we are eating steak again. Well, we are still on our mountain getaway, and we are enjoying every minute of it. So to celebrate, we bought ourselves some very nice grass-fed ribeyes. We were a little limited on the seasoning we had available to us, but luckily they had some nice sea salt, some ground pepper, and we found a very nice bottle of balsamic vinegar, which we used as a rub. Then make sure you always want to preheat the grill, and while the grill is heating up, this is also a good time to let your steaks marinate. Throw these bad boys on the grill and let them cook. And one of the keys to making a good steak is trying to minimize the amount of times you actually flip the steak. So ideally you only want to flip it one time during the entire time you're cooking your steak. So we prefer our steaks medium rare. In fact, we don't think there's any other way to enjoy a nice grass-fed ribeye. So in addition to the steaks, we also had some baked potatoes. Now, of course, we always remove the skin because we don't need those extra anti-nutrients. And then we kind of do like a mashed potato almost on the plate, where we add some butter, we add some sour cream. And the sour cream we like is organic. It's Nancy's Organic. So this is no artificial flavors or additives or anything, and it also includes some probiotics. So very healthy alternative to your traditional sour cream. So hopefully you enjoy. I know we sure did. Thank you. So if you like this content, please share it with your friends. And of course, we are always open to feedback and or any questions. So thank you. And once again, good luck on this 21-day journey.